So for those that don't know, AOC got in a little bit of controversy over the weekend. I don't know how you feel about it, Hannah. I'm a little curious because she is somebody who supports, mask mandates and teachers' unions closing schools and vaccine passports in New York City. She supports all of that. Yet she's down in Florida right now, which has explicitly rejected all of that under Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican. She's down there having a nice time with her boyfriend, eating outside. Was pictured maskless at a very crowded outdoor drag bar, having a blast. And it's certainly not the worst political hypocrisy we've seen. We saw people get busted literally breaking their own rules and violating the law they made. AOC's not breaking any laws. She's not breaking her own rules. But I think it is a bit hypocritical and not cool that she talks this talk, but then goes to party in Florida without all these rules. So I guess we should just touch on that a little before we get into the insane controversy that followed.
So it's not cool, but it's also high-key hilarious to me. Every time I see something like this, it just kind of makes me giggle. This is a side note, but in California, they recently found out that some of the people they hired within their school system to work with them on equity and diversity actually live in Texas. And California doesn't even allow its government employees to travel to Texas because it's so racist and bigoted there. That's hilarious. That's so funny. And I think it just proves that deep down, a lot of these people know that what they're pushing is bogus. And I think it's great for it to be put on full display, to be honest. So I think it's quite funny.
Yeah, but what was even funnier was her response. So people were calling her out. This guy, Steve Cortez, who's a Newsmax host and a nationalist, he tweeted, if leftists like AOC actually thought that mandates and masking worked, they wouldn't be frolicking in free Florida. Number 2, her guy is showing his gross, pale male feet in public with hideous sandals. I agree. That's cringe to go after his feet. I'm always focus on the substance. Now, but AOC's tweet quote of this was, honestly, I thought it was parody. She tweeted, if Republicans are mad they can't date me, they can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations onto my boyfriend's feet. You creepy weirdos. Oh, and she continued. It's starting to get old, ignoring the very obvious, strange, and deranged sexual frustrations that underpin the Republican fixation on me, women, and LGBT plus people in general. These people clearly need therapy, won't do it, and use politics as their outlet instead. It's really weird. Now, I have to say, Hannah, I have a pretty high bar for what I expect from politicians in terms of being narcissistic, but she may have just pole vaulted that bar. And I genuinely think that may be the most narcissistic and arrogant thing I've ever seen a politician say.
I think, and I think this has been apparent for some time, the girl's delusional. She's not grounded in reality in pretty much any field that she touches. I mean, I think she actually has something wrong with her. I think that she's a very beautiful girl, but there's nothing here to indicate that people are trying to sleep with you, that their criticisms of you are founded on anything other than your own hypocrisy and delusion, because she's unhinged half the time. I mean, I'm sure she's a nice person, but she is not grounded in the world that we live in. She truly is off her, totally just off the rails when it comes to her beliefs around economics and basic prices and just how the world functions and works. And so I'm not really surprised to see her have such a out there take in response to this, but I think it's really weird. And I actually find it kind of offensive in the fact that she uses, I hate this because, I've worked around mental health a lot. Don't use mental health and therapy to talk down to people, ma'am. Therapy is a great thing. I think a lot of people need therapy and it should be celebrated. It's not something you try to use as oh, you're so unhinged, you need therapy. Ew. Ew. Are you really woke if you don't have that progressive? Not progressive at all. I think it's actually disgusting. I think it's demeaning to people with mental health issues. It's demeaning to therapy. It makes people less likely to get therapy. So she needs to take all of the seats and hopefully back in her native New York where she can wear a mask and cover her mouth for a little bit, because hopefully that would help her quit talking so much. She needs to take a break.
What I find funny about it too is maybe I'm willing to even accept the notion that there may be some Republicans or conservatives who have a little bit of a love-hate obsession with her. That's definitely true with my critics. What can I say? But her casting it as if that's all her critics are, like they're all just obsessed with her. You can't do that to me, sweetie. I'm definitely not trying to sleep with you. I do believe she's actually a pretty, a decently beautiful woman, but she's not quite my type, though. So she can't really pull that one on me. And it's just kind of absurd that somebody with such extreme beliefs, who has made so many high-profile errors on basic economics and math and public policy, would actually suggest that there's no legitimate opposition to her views. When in reality, there's more legitimate opposition to her views than there is illegitimate opposition. Sure, there's some, there's some people that hate her because they're racist or sexist or whatever. Sure, those people exist. But most people hate her ideas because she's an unhinged socialist in her policies. And she constantly makes these insanely economically illiterate arguments and statements. And so I just find it really arrogant and really alarming that she thinks there's no legitimate opposition. I'm always alarmed when I see politicians and government officials trying to undercut the notion that there can be any legitimate opposition to their agenda and their beliefs. That's always a major red flag for me. So while I'm not in love with AOC, I will give her a bouquet of red flags because that's what she deserves right now.
100% agree. But I will say, you know what? She knows how to make news around herself. And she's certainly done that with this news cycle. The satire around her statements has been pretty funny. There's been some good captions. I saw the Babylon Bee actually had a headline, which I think they're so funny. It said, Ted Cruz says all his haters are just unable to resist his raw sex appeal.
I saw that and I geeked, especially because they attached like a close-up of Ted Cruz's face. And of all the men in politics who are not known for their sex appeal, I have to say that Ted Cruz... No, oh my God. But I tweeted on AOC and I was literally like, girl, this is basically the energy you have right now. And I will admit, in her defense, she is more attractive than Ted Cruz, objectively. But that's that same energy. Obviously, that's a parody website, people. That's not something Ted Cruz actually said. But it's a great way of exposing how silly and obtuse this was by AOC.
Yeah, just totally, again, delusional, detached from reality.